You know that perfect, smooth screen on your smartphone? Or those super efficient solar panels? What if the secret to making them flawless wasn't just about the materials, but about having a smarter brain controlling the whole process? Well, today, we're going to talk about ANFIS, a really powerful hybrid AI that's mastering the art of microscopic perfection. And trust me, it's a total game changer.
Okay, so let's dive right in. Before we can really appreciate why this AI is such a huge deal, we first have to wrap our heads around frankly, the mind-boggling problem it was designed to solve. Yeah, just take a second and let that sink in. We're talking about a level of precision it's just so hard to even imagine. This isn't just a tough engineering problem. This is one of the absolute core challenges in all of modern high-tech manufacturing. And the thing is, these ridiculously thin films, or coatings, they're literally everywhere. The screen you're looking at right now? Yep. The microchips running your phone, your computer? You bet. Solar panels? Absolutely. And for any of this tech to work right, these layers have to be perfect. I mean, absolutely flawless. The tiniest mistake, one little imperfection, and the whole thing is basically junk. So how in the world do you even make these things? Well, the main process is called magnetron sputtering, which I know sounds super complicated, but really it's like we're painting with individual atoms. We're inside a vacuum, and we're just blasting a surface with this atomic dust. The analogy of painting a masterpiece during a hurricane is pretty much spot on. It is that chaotic. You've got all these different dials to turn: temperature, pressure, gas flow, and you have to get them all perfect, all at the same time. And the real kicker? If you tweak one dial, it can throw everything else completely out of whack in ways you'd never expect. So for a long time, engineers basically had two main ways of trying to control this chaos. You can think of it like having two totally different kinds of experts trying to solve the same problem. On one hand, you've got fuzzy logic. This is your seasoned, experienced artisan. You know the type. They work on intuition, on rules of thumb. They'd say something like, looks like the pressure is getting a little high, so let's ease back on the power just a bit. They understand the why behind the process, but they're not always perfectly precise. Then, on the other hand, you have neural networks. This is your super precise robot. It can analyze massive, and I mean massive, amounts of data and spot these incredibly complex patterns that no human could ever see. But it's a black box. It'll give you the perfect answer, but it has no idea why that's the answer. It can't explain its reasoning at all. So that's the setup, right? The wise old artisan or the hyper-precise but clueless robot. It naturally leads to the big question: why choose? What if you could somehow combine the artisan's wisdom with the robot's incredible precision? Well, that's exactly what ANFIS is. It's the hybrid brain. It's the system that takes that artisan and that robot and puts them together working as one. Okay, the full name is a bit of a mouthful. Adaptive Neuro-Fuzzy Inference System. But don't let that intimidate you, because the core idea is just brilliant. It literally takes that human-like rule-of-thumb thinking from fuzzy logic and fuses it with the raw data-crunching power of a neural network. Okay, so how does this dream team actually work together? It's pretty cool. Let's walk through it. First, the robot part gets a super precise measurement, like the temperature is exactly 250 degrees Celsius. That's the input. Then, it fuzzifies it. It basically translates that number into a language the artisan can understand, telling it, okay, that's very hot. Now the artisan takes over, checking its rulebook. Right, if it's very hot, then we need to reduce the power slightly. Great. Now the system has to translate that advice back into a number. That's defuzzification. It turns reduce power slightly into a precise command for the machine. And finally, the output. The machine makes the adjustment. But here's the absolute genius of it all. The system watches the result and learns from it, constantly getting better and updating its own rules. It's a feedback loop of pure genius. And that's the result. You get the gut feeling, the intuition of a master craftsman, but it's constantly being sharpened and perfected by the superhuman precision of a learning machine. It's truly the best of both worlds. Okay, so that's the theory, but let's bring it back down to earth. How does this hybrid brain actually help us tame that chaotic, sputtering storm we talked about earlier? Just look at this table. This gives you a sense of the insane complexity ANFIS is dealing with. On the left, you've got all your inputs, all the dials you can turn on the machine. Sputtering power, gas flow, pressure, you name it. And on the right, that's what you're trying to achieve. You want a surface that's smooth, that sticks perfectly, that has just the right hardness. What ANFIS does is figure out the hidden, incredibly complicated map that connects a tiny change on the left to a specific outcome on the right. Hey, this isn't just some cool idea on a whiteboard. This is being used in the real world. Researchers like Das and Atta have actually used ANFAS to model these super advanced coatings. And the results? They found the AI could predict the perfect recipe for these materials way faster and more accurately than the old school way of just trying stuff over and over again in the lab, which costs a ton of time and money. Yeah, the research pretty much sealed the deal. The predictions the ANFIS models made were a scarily close match to what happened in real-world experiments. I mean, think about that. For any company in this space, that's not just an improvement, it's a complete game changer for efficiency. But here's what I think is the coolest part. ANFIS basically gives engineers a virtual crystal ball for manufacturing. They can sit at a computer, tweak a virtual dial, what happens if I crank up the power, and instantly the AI shows them a visualization of the predicted outcome. They can run hundreds of these what-if scenarios in a single afternoon, something that would have taken months in a real lab. They're perfecting the process without ever wasting materials or time. So as you can see, this is huge. But we need to zoom out a bit, because this isn't just about making better coatings for phones. This is a glimpse into a much bigger shift in the entire world of manufacturing. What we're talking about here is something called Industry 4.0. So, Industry 4.0. The whole idea is to build smart factories. Factories where machines are all talking to each other, adapting on the fly, and constantly optimizing themselves without a human stepping in. And a system like ANFIS, it's like the perfect brain for that kind of factory. It's the intelligence that lets a process learn and get better all by itself. And the impact of that is just massive. Imagine factories that produce almost zero defective products, where every single item that comes off the line is a perfect replica of the last. This means higher performing gadgets for us, and because it's so much more efficient, it means way less wasted material and energy. It's just smarter. So when you put it all together, from these invisible microscopic layers that are in everything we use, to the smart factories that will build the future, it's these hybrid AIs like ANFIS that are quietly, in the background, architecting what comes next. And that really leaves us with a huge, fascinating question to think about, doesn't it? If this kind of AI can achieve perfection at the microscopic level, what happens when we start pointing this kind of hybrid intelligence, this blend of human-like wisdom and machine precision, at our biggest macroscopic challenges? What could we solve then? Definitely something to chew on. Thanks for tuning in.